Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey guys, welcome to the Dear Doc podcast. And thank you for joining me once again in my studio here in Alvin, Texas. Now, today I've got some really cool guests that I want to bring on, and they are Danny, Laneri, and Drew Sparks, and they are the founders of the Beard Club for Men. As you can see, they really aren't, guys. They actually founded this great company called Swell, and I've been using them for quite some time now. They do actually a lot more that I've been doing with them. And as we were exploring these new features, I said, guys, you got to come on to the podcast, talk a little bit about your company, and maybe tell people how all of this got started and how you gravitated toward each other and made this thing called Swell. So before we really get deep into things, guys, why don't you tell people what Swell does for people who haven't experienced your services yet?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks again for having us, Doc. We're super excited to be here. I think if you can't tell by our looks, it's a Friday. I'm wearing a t-shirt and a hat, so we're gonna keep this. We'll keep this pretty informal. But yeah, we're Swell. We've been in the dental space for a couple of years now. Our company itself has been around for just over 3.5 years. We primarily serve the dental space. So we feel like, we know the space pretty well. We understand the problems and challenges the dentists and dental office owners and managers deal with on a daily basis. And ultimately our goal is to help drive business and practice growth. So essentially what our platform is it's a practice growth software platform for small businesses. Our goal is to help businesses and practices get noticed online, stand out from their competition, reduce the friction between the business or the practice itself and either their patients or prospects, and then ultimately to drive new patient traffic through the door. And that's it. So we're a software platform. A lot of people may know us because we also offer a review management side of things. And that's the way our approach to reviews is pretty unique in the dental space from our competitors. But we know that reviews aren't everything in driving new patient traffic. Reviews are kind of the top of the funnel. That's how this starts. I think practices know how important reviews are, know how important that is to getting noticed online and to getting people to select your practice over the competition down the street. But that's not everything. That's top of the funnel. Our goal is to obviously help you put a strategy in place for top of the funnel. But then it's cool. Once you're noticed, once you have a great, solid online reputation, how do we start to actually funnel people down and get them to convert from prospects into patients?
And that actually brings us, a great segue too, brings us to how we got to talking again, because, you and I met at, I believe, Glenn Vo's Nifty Thrifty Summit quite some time back. And then the world ended and, all this stuff. So we got back in touch and I said, hey guys, look, I really wanted to bring you on a podcast and tell everybody about your product and, the great stuff you guys have done for us with reviews. And that's whenever you told me, well, Chris, we do so much more than reviews. Aren't you using our other stuff? And I was like, well, what do you mean other stuff? So I want you to actually do me a favor, go just down the list of all these services I have not used yet, folks, because I didn't know they existed, but we're getting set up with them. And I'll be glad to give you guys an update on how well they're working. But the review side of things works really, really well, I know. So Drew, what all am I missing out on right now?
Yeah, you bet. I'm gonna let Danny take this one.
Danny, talk to me,
Sure.
man.
Absolutely. So just like Drew said, we definitely help practices stand out online, dominate their local search results, if you will, to make sure that when patients who are more and more searching for practices online are finding the best dentist in their area, and they're using that initial review check as 500 other individuals have been through this practice's doors, and here are the authentic things that they're saying about their experience with them. We hope that then drives traffic to the website and to social media. And now, just like Drew said, we're trying to remove any friction or remove any barriers from those patients or prospects being able to easily connect with your practice. And so first and foremost, plugging in simple things like a web chat on the bottom right-hand corner of your website, where patients can actually make quick inquiries, schedule general appointment request times, or even inquire in other ways about services or things that way. And just simply by putting in their name, their cell phone, and their submission, that will connect them directly to the practice in the most preferential way, which is a mobile conversation, a two-way text at that point between them and the practice. So we also link up with your Facebook Messenger and allow prospects who are finding you on social and interacting with your social media, they can actually send you a message from Facebook Messenger, and that will come directly into that top of funnel inbox, which funnels into one, so that you're never missing a message from a prospect or a current patient. And you're allowing them to meet you where they are, if you will. So leveraging web chat and that social media integration is a really big thing as we look to take that notice online to conversion toward prospective patients. And then once they're in the practice, it's very important to strategically communicate with them in digestible, personalized methods. And so through text and email sequence messaging, we can help you update on COVID or promote services like your Invisalign or all-on-4 cases or implant or sleep dentistry. And you can really send the right message to the right patient at the right time through some of these feature functionalities. And then we implore practices to consistently ask for both public feedback that can help them stand out online, but private feedback. Things like, how did you feel about our new reception area, our new location, our new practitioner, our new hygienist? 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend us to a family member or friends? And if it's 5, would you mind expanding? Because we want to use this private feedback as a way for offices to train and make necessary shifts and simply continue to enhance and provide a better patient experience. And then closing the loop, we know that with COVID and with the break of everything that has happened in 2020, contactless payments or ease of payment for dental payments is something that has been desired. And once again, palm of hand, 30 seconds, patient can receive a text click link and settle their payment with you by entering in any major credit card. We read whether they're on an Apple device or an Android device so that we can make payment as seamless and as convenient as possible for the patients. These are some of the feature sets that we're talking about and asking that people like yourself who view us as only a review platform, that they realize that we are actually both patient acquisition, but that full patient experience along the way as well.
So Danny, there's something you bring up there, and a couple of questions. And one of them deals with the messenger and the web chat. And everybody's going to web chat these days. Everyone wants to have a web chat out there with their company. Talk to me a little bit about what makes yours different. Do I still have to worry about my team being there to answer this, or do you have any kind of associations with anyone that allow you to make sure these texts and messages don't go unanswered? What makes you stand out in that arena is my first question. And I'll let you think about your answer for a couple of seconds. My second question is, when you do have this hot lead that's coming in, do you have any way for these people to actually make appointments through your software or through any of the services that you offer?
Absolutely. So we've intentionally taken an approach with this web chat as essentially, we know that it could be a real struggle for offices to have to watch their chat around the clock and respond within 10, 15 seconds each time. But what we've done is actually first and foremost provided essentially a prospective patient submission, if you will, where we can take those initial inquiries and in a matter of 10 seconds, we can start some automated communication to where we're now palm of hand with the patient, and you can reach out to them and text them on your own timeline rather than forcing them to sit on your web page and wait for minutes and minutes at a time for you to respond. So secondly, we prefer to drive traffic toward a text conversation. And then speaking to appointment times and availabilities, while we know that dentistry doesn't necessarily want us in their schedule, patients are able to say, I'm a new patient and I would prefer Tuesday and Thursday in the afternoons or 11 to 12 range, you name it. However, the office would like to set that up, that is customizable. But what we want to do is just remove any barriers to entry and allow them to fire the most precise question that they can. And then you can respond to them. You're notified from an office perspective with push notifications, email, in-app notifications, and it's all funneling into one inbox. So you're literally never missing a message anytime. You can even carry this around on your mobile device with our mobile app, and you can respond if you're halfway across town and out of the practice.
I think the biggest thing here is we're not trying to overwhelm the practice, or the practice owner, the dentist, or the office manager. We know that, the thought of implementing some of these tools can kind of be overwhelming. The thought of opening up the floodgates and saying, hey, we're going to let anybody and everybody chat with us and request appointments whenever they want, which just kind of, could potentially add another level of stress to whoever's managing this. Because now they're not only managing their patients that are in their chair, they're in the waiting room, that are trying to figure out, when their appointment is, but now they're managing, new leads and conversations and people that just want to ask questions or that are casually browsing. And for a small business, that can be hard, that can be super overwhelming. And I think, we've come across a lot of practices and a lot of people that will just say, no, I've tried a live chat. I've taken it off because I hate getting dinged at midnight and someone's trying to ask me a question and I'm expected to answer. I don't think, for a small business owner and a dentist, that's not realistic. First, you're super busy. There's not a lot of time that you have to just be in front of your computer to answer questions, to monitor leads, to respond. And when you're not working, you want some time off. I get in the afternoons, on the weekends, I myself, I try to turn off my notifications. I try to not respond to leads or messages generally.
The irony of that ding was amazing.
I know. Geez, what's funny, as we're saying this, I'm going through all my open applications and trying to silence everything, but I keep missing. So yeah. So I understand the pain of constant notifications and constant, the need for attending to these things. So we're trying to ease that first by implementing our tools like web chat, like our appointment reminder. We make sure we have, some limited barrier there where they're required to put in their name, their phone number, some initial message, which means that we're only capturing leads from people that actually have intent. If they're just casual browsers and they land on your website and they're like, they're not, they're too lazy to read about your business on their homepage and just want to chat with somebody immediately. Hey, we're trying to avoid those people so that you're not bogged down with those conversations. We want people that are actually looking with real intent. And then if they do have intent and do happen to have a question or do want to request an appointment or initiate a conversation with the practice, we want to make that easy for you as the practice owner, for the office manager. So it initiates a text message conversations. Our system automatically replies and says, hey doc, thanks for reaching out. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Or maybe it's on the weekend. Hey, we received your message, but this is the weekend. We'll get back to you on Monday morning. Some of those kind of things in place so that you're not overwhelmed by these additional services and additional, people that are trying to contact you.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I like the way that you guys have seemed to strike a balance between, letting these inquiries go unanswered and, screwing up my schedule. Because I'll tell you, I've used several different scheduling services, some really big names, and they never can put patients on my schedule correctly. I mean, I'll fill out these extensive questionnaires about how long things take, or, I'll give them guidelines, do this, don't do that. And it never works correctly. The honest truth is one of these people is dealing with 10 or 12 or 15 practices, and they just don't give a shit. They're trying to get the most number of patients on people's records as possible, because that is how their efficiency as an employee is ranked by these companies, is whether or not they made the appointment, not whether or not they did it right. And so I really actually kind of like your approach better than I like the approach of say some some online scheduling companies.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And we are exploring, we are still integrated to the practice management system for a lot of the outreach that we do, a lot of the customer engagement. But we know that everybody they use different systems. But even those practices that are using a single system, let's take Open Dental, for example, which 25+% of the market is using. If you went to 5 different Open Dental practices, they would all be using Open Dental differently. And like you said, they all have different expectations on their schedule and how they manage appointments, how they take off appointments, how they block out times. And we want to take a really careful approach. So we're evaluating, what do we write back? How do we write back? Do we want to do that? Or do we want to give you the flexibility of fielding these conversations at the right time?
Absolutely.
Once you have, what's cool about this too is, those systems that do write back immediately into your, right onto your schedule, there's a decent fallout rate for those patients no showing.
Yes, there is.
So a lot of times
there's no human contact in between.
There's no human.
They have no mind.
That's it. That you nailed it. So if I went and booked a schedule, if I never talked to a practice, I never called them, they never texted me, I have no idea who the doctor is, and I booked an appointment through your schedule, I have no loyalty. I have no commitment to actually show up. And so if something comes up, you know what, I'm not going to call and cancel. I'm not going to be proactive about that. I'll probably just no show, which means that you've lost a slot in your schedule that someone else could have filled.
Particularly today, ghosting people is considered acceptable.
Absolutely.
My generation, it really wasn't. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say something while we're on the topic. These opinions that I'm about to express are not opinions held by Swell or any of their subsidiaries or employees. And if they are, then they're not. So this is me saying this. As a developer, if I could possibly kill every single relationship that every dentist has with Dentrix and with Eaglesoft, I would do so, because they are horrible to develop for and they are expensive to develop for. And they want a king's ransom for you to simply touch their API, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but that's about to get pulled because they're suing Seekosoft. So it's going to be a brave new world, ladies and gentlemen. So that's my opinion. Doc Huffpower has nothing to do with what Drew or Danny thinks. And if it does, they're going to be quiet because I'm not worried about Dentrix getting mad at me. So I refuse to develop for it. I will only develop for Open Dental from now on because of the problems we've had. And I don't care if I cut out 75% of the market. I figure if we have nice, shiny toys on the other side of the fence, eventually people are going to change their minds. So you dentists out there hearing this, change to Open Dental. Okay, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. So anyway, sorry to lob that live hand grenade out there, but they just tick me off so much.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think we share similar sentiment. So yeah, you're definitely not off base there. You're not the only one that thinks that.
So anyway, let me get to safer waters for you guys so we can talk a little bit more without endangering you into the wrath of the gods that be. So talk to me about how you ended up here. I mean, I've always kind of laughed because Drew, you're in a real social space, but you are one of the most quiet, modest, humble guys I know. And I always just kind of shake my head whenever I get to talk to you. I'm like, this guy who owns this huge social network, but he's just such a quiet and low tone guy. How did this develop? How did you get here?
Yeah, man, I ask myself that every day.
Is it while you're drinking vodka, ready to drive to work, or when you come back?
Late at night, early in the morning when I'm woken up, those are the thoughts that come to my mind. Where am I and how did I get here? Yeah, and I'm not gonna take too much time because Danny's got a pretty cool story as well, and he's been in dentistry much longer than myself. But yeah, for myself, as a co-founder of this business, definitely never imagined that I'd be in the spot that we're at, serving the dental and orthodontic space. Before this, I really didn't have a lot of exposure to this space. But prior to this, I was at a smaller healthcare startup that a friend of mine started serving independent pharmacies that were, all across the United States. And from that experience, And that was new for me too. You know, I never thought I'd be serving pharmacies. I went to school for something completely different. I graduated in mechanical engineering. I thought for sure I'd have a long career in a, you know, with a large oil company or industrial manufacturer or something like that. But, you know, things kind of changed and I recognized I wanted to do something else. And so I had an opportunity to help serve these small independent pharmacies. And it was really during that time that I kind of got a glimpse into what these small business owners struggle with and what they're going for or going through and how hard it is to compete. You know, being a small business owner is not easy, especially, you know, in a business like healthcare. In the pharmacy space, what we were seeing is these pharmacies are being shut down at an insane rate because they're being squeezed out by CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, now Amazon getting into the space, these huge corporations where independent pharmacies, if they don't have a leg up or have this business acumen or understanding of how to market themselves, they're dying because times are changing and the way that small businesses are doing business has to change as well. So that's kind of where the idea from Swell was born out of. You know, we took a different approach. Instead of, when you started developing the tool, we thought, hey, maybe this is going to be specific to pharmacies. And then we quickly realized that this is not specific to pharmacies. This is small businesses in general across every industry is changing. Consumers are changing the way that they're doing business. Businesses have to change the way that they serve their customer. And if they don't, they're going to get left behind.
I think you guys do a good job of making that pain point a lot easier to swallow for small businesses. I'd have to say I would never have guessed Meki, but I can see it. I would have thought Kimmy if I knew you were an engineer, just because the basic personality goes more with Kimmys that I know. Yeah, electrical engineers, though, they're all freaking weird. Every single one of them. Like, I have a lot of engineer friends down here in the NASA corridor. But so we're going to jump in with Danny, and I wasn't going to let Danny get away, by the way. So
no way.
But I wanted to say, I think that dentists could learn a lot from really examining the trajectory of independent pharmacists. Because in all honesty, in the 1980s, they had Armageddon. They had what we are facing right now, particularly with COVID and all of the additional costs and all the additional regulations that are coming down the pipe for us now. If you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. Please, please learn from history, because the world would be a very, very different place if there were as few independent dentists as there are independent pharmacists right now.
Totally agree. Yep, totally agree. Yeah, and things are not staying there. The status quo is not set. We are currently changing. Businesses have to recognize it. They have to adapt, or they're going to get left behind. So
absolutely.
Agree.
So Danny's
much more interesting than me. So Danny, I want you to tell us your story, man.
I think you're both very interesting. Danny, you are the more outgoing of this dynamic duo. I don't think I've literally ever seen you not smiling. So you are more gregarious, and I'm guessing you're more of you started as more of the sales side, or where'd you come from? How did you get into this field?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that. People jokingly call me the resident nice guy. But I just have to always remind them that they should not mistake niceness for weakness.
That is one of my favorite quotes of all time, Danny. I kid you not. I actually put it in my new book.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a very interesting path here, and you and I share similarities that you may not have been aware of until now, but I was actually a double major in biology and chemistry and a dental school applicant 10 plus years ago. Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah. So what happened was, you talk about Armageddons. Well, we hit a 2008 Armageddon of sorts. And just at the time that I was applying to dental schools and talking with mentorship, you know, a man that I call my second dad was an owner of many practices, and I had intention to enter into business with him and take over some of his locations eventually. But during that time, he said, you know what, Dan, you might really need to take a gut check here and say, are you looking to cut teeth or are you interested in business? Because you may not want to go and get a 1.5 million in the hole without really knowing if you want to cut teeth to dig yourself out of that and eventually enjoy the business side that you're hoping to. Because, you know, he owned multiple practices in Utah, California, really a wheeler and dealer of dentistry. But he suggested that I take a peek on the business side of dentistry while I still had that window of time, if you will.
Right.
So I actually joined the first company in dentistry to send a text appointment reminder and confirmation, and started in the patient communication software side 10 years ago. I was employee number 78. When I left, we were over 800 and had been acquired by a $12.2 billion portfolio, and really just went from 0 practices to 25,000 in a matter of a short time. So I was leading business development in terms of partnerships and speaking opportunities, working with national products, consultants, you name it. We were in some really fun stuff. And I left that company taking a bigger opportunity, but shortly after was recruited back into the space once my non-compete expired, by a company that I just left, that during that time, they went from 300 million to $1 billion in valuation. And during that time, I lovingly left them to join with Drew and Zeke and grow Swell out in a way that we both have a playbook. But number 2, this is more humanistic and this is more applicable now than ever before for dental practices and shifting small business norms. And so I cannot believe the number of interesting conversations I'm in on a daily basis with national scale to really grow dentistry in the proper way. And there's a shift taking place. There's a patient exodus from practices that are not serving them well, that are not communicating with them well, that are making it difficult to do business with them. There's a shift for all of these patients to land in practices that are both making it seamless and personalized to connect. And then that patient experience is now being controlled and guided through technology in a way that we've never seen before.
I would completely agree. Times, they are changing. And honestly, a lot of the things I'm seeing, whenever you look historically, it reminds me of the 80s. It really does. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to get all doom and gloom here, but I'll just say the landscape will be changing very, very drastically. So I think that companies like yours that tap into the ability to automate are going to be at the forefront of the new age of dentistry. I foresee, and you guys and I, we've talked quite a bit. You know, I have my fingers in a whole lot of different companies, and they're almost all technology companies, because that is where I truly believe our industry is going. And I want to be on the forefront with my practice. And so I act as guinea pigs for guys like you and for my companies to make sure that stuff works to go out to everybody else. What I'm seeing is more and more, as you said, a seamless approach. And I'm seeing that where there used to be this hugely fractured industry where you had one company for reminders and you had one company for online scheduling and you had one company for intra-office communications or whatever, those things are starting to come together and to be automated in one single place. And I think it's a really exciting time to be involved in the technology part of dentistry.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it is. I think what's interesting here is that everything that we've talked about, yes, times are changing. Practices do have to keep up. They have to modernize. They do need to adapt technology if they want to stay relevant. All of those things also mean that there's an opportunity. You know, it's not just like change or you're going to get left behind. It's also change and take advantage of this opportunity, because there's plenty of businesses and practices that are not going to change, that are not going to adapt. And that means that there are opportunities for those that do. We know that dentistry is still a growing field. Lots of opportunities here. I'm part of plenty of groups and in talks with DSOs that are expanding on a daily or weekly basis, taking advantage of these opportunities. An independent single location practice can still take advantage of this as an opportunity as well, if they adapt, if they find the right technologies to help them do that. And yeah, I think, dentistry is really interesting because there's a lot of technologies that are trying to serve the space, because there are so many, independent practices across the US. And so it's hard for practices to sometimes sift through the noise to try to evaluate, to try to find the best in class solutions for all these different needs that they have. And you're right, there's also consolidations happening where services, technologies that do exist are expanding, overlapping, and trying to consolidate into one service. We're taking somewhat of an approach there. We're not super interested in competing with like the solution reaches of the world, or these larger, established appointment reminders or patient recall type systems. Where we want to focus is everything after that, the practice growth side of things, automating our engagement with patients to make sure that we're monitoring patient experience and improving based on patient experience, automating engagements so that we get noticed online. We're driving people to the correct review sites to help our online visibility, automating the way that people find us online through our website, through appointment reminders, and then automating the way ultimately that we get paid. Or that practices get paid. So yeah, we see the opportunity in taking over this, kind of the marketing, the customer facing, the growth side of things, and letting those other solutions do what they do best. Right. They're continually improving and adapting, and it would be really hard for us to keep up and provide a best in class solution. We want to be the best in class solution at what we do.
Well, I remember you and I were having a conversation. I said, well, do you guys have anything that does this? He said, no, but so-and-so does a really great job of that. You should talk to him. And that really, it really reinforces the way that you guys think. Now, Danny, I'm not going to let you get away. When I said something earlier about automation, right toward the end, you smiled, bit your lip, and then put on the best damn poker face I've ever seen. What did I hit on there? You stopped smiling for once, Danny.
Oh,
maybe that's your tell.
No, that's interesting. I guess I gave away a tell without realizing it, and that's why it is a tell. I'm honestly not positive. I was listening to what transpired after that and probably took my thought away. But if we can reframe, I'm sure it could pop back up.
I think Danny has a unique perspective because he's been, if you're comfortable with us naming some companies, he's been at Solution Reach, he's been at Weave, has so much experience of being on that side of things. Luring Danny away from those companies was fun for us to do, and I think Danny saw the opportunity in saying, "Hey, yeah, those companies do what they do it well. We recommend some of those tools, but this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to drive new business." And we're still an absolute best-in-class solution at what we do. So I hope, that was at least our pitch to Danny, and it worked at least long enough to convince him to quit his job and come help us.
So I know you guys know all the same guys I know, and I always kind of laugh about the fact that the future of dentistry is based in Utah, like literally, it's all there. And so last week I actually had I believe someone you guys are pretty familiar with, Corey Penniger, on. And he was telling me about when he started with Weave and how they stuck him in this closet refurbishing old phones. Oh goodness. It was great getting to catch up with him. But that's one of the things I really love about people ask a lot, hey, why do I promote who I promote? Is it because you guys pay me? And in truth, sometimes companies do give me affiliate commissions, but I don't ever enter into a relationship with someone unless I've used their products and I like them as people and I like their products. So I've used a whole lot of products where I like the product and I didn't like the people and I won't promote them. I've used a lot of products where I like the people and the product was crap and won't promote them. It's got to be kind of a magical union. And what I find is all of you guys know each other really well. All the ones I find that I resonate with. What actually someone told me once, they would make me an honorary Mormon. So I could.
Right. but you know a few people in Utah then.
Just one or two, and it's funny because whenever I was in dental school, I realized that we didn't really get much of a much of a business education. And so I formed a business study club, and we would all travel out or read articles, and every week we'd bring them back and we'd present what we had learned to everyone else in the club. And there were 15 people in that club. Of the 15, literally 12 of them, one was me, 12 of them were Mormons. We had one guy who was Muslim and one guy who was he was a Catholic, but it was interesting. Whenever we would, we'd talk about that, everyone who was from Utah seemed to be a dentist. So it was just interesting. And now that I know all of you guys, I see why. It's like the mecca of dentistry of the future.
Maybe there's something about us that makes us have just terrible teeth, and that makes the need.
I highly doubt that, but
soda lovers. So there's definitely a sugar addiction here. So that could be the source.
I like to think that it's simple business acumen. I think that you make smart choices, but I'm a little bit biased. But anyway.
Well, hey Doc, I want to jump in really quickly when you talk about Corey Pinniger. Just picture this. Speaking of Utah and the dental mecca, 2 weeks ago, Corey Pinniger, obviously the CEO of Callforce, who had roots at Weave, was present in a foursome playing some golf. It was myself, Corey Pinniger, Brandon Rodman, one of the 3 co-founders and CEO of Weave, and then Zeke, who's the co-founder and CFO of Swell. So the 4 of us were out there. Drew was busy, or else we would have probably kicked Zeke out.
Much better golf.
But we do know each other. We know each other well. These are great gentlemen. Our goal is interdependence. This is the age of interdependence. Those companies that try to go independent and be everything to everyone, they are missing the next wave of what is going to take place. And there will be marketplaces and such seamless interdependence in the future with our product and all of the other products that offices have come to know and love as part of their experience and the things that they rely on. And we will absolutely find a way to shine over somebody that wants to take a me approach. I just wanted to throw that in there because we're always together. We've got each other's backs. We say may the best product win if there's overlap, but at the same time, our goal is to be the best in class and to fit right where we do.
And I think that's important in the dental space, especially because we do want, as we're speaking to dental offices, I know it can be hard offices can often feel like we're just another tool that's trying to get them to pay for us, but we take a different approach. We really do truly, our goal is to try to help these dental practices grow. And we think that we can do that by sitting alongside other tools or services that they use. And a lot of these services do come out of Utah. We're like, Danny mentioned, we're really good friends with a lot of the other solutions and founders of these other solutions. We think we have something in common because we are all trying to help dentistry grow and ultimately bring value to these practices. And, I hope that our message comes across to practice owners that are evaluating tools like Swell, that say like, hey, we're not just trying to kick other solutions out of the way in order to get your money. We think that we're going to bring you value, and bring you more value that other tools can't do without us. And so that's ultimately the goal. It's really just driving growth and driving value.
I love it. And I love the congeniality that you guys all have. Everyone plays nicely with others, except for that one punk you guys did invite to play golf. So
he was busy.
I didn't mean this punk. I meant, some fictitious other punk. So
if he was listening, he would hear that.
That's
Yeah.
right. I've often thought, and I will be honest with you, I hate doing this because whenever I do it, inevitably someone develops what I'm talking about because they'll hear it and they'll say, that's a great idea. But I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. I have often thought it would be a wonderful thing to have a platform that consolidated all of the services across the board. And you're talking about interconnectivity and offered up an a la carte service that you could click, oh, I want voicemail. Do I want it from Mango, or do I want it from Weave, or do I want it from what have you? Oh, I want answering service. I'm going to click on call force. And you can basically just build the services out that you need so that you can automate your office as much or as little as possible and have that company provide back-end support to make sure that all the APIs work well with each other and that everyone is not loading contrary drivers or what have you, or contrary bridges that will cause conflicts on the back end. If there was someone who could make that seamless and could offer a la carte services between all of these different companies, I think that would be $1 billion company right there.
Yeah. Hey, we'll be the first ones in line too. So if and when there's a platform available, count us in.
Well, not enough bandwidth on this guy right now.
Yeah.
I've got too many coals in the fire right now. Well, guys, sure. I'm gonna leave the rest of this to you. I am not, by the way, guys, I have not entered into any kind of negotiations with Swell. I'm not beating them up on their prices. They offer a great service at a great price. So I just want you to know who they are. I want you to meet them, and I want you to call them up and give them a chance. So guys, talk to me. What are your pricing structures like right now? Do you have a great deal going on somewhere that you want to tell them about?
Yeah, we absolutely do. And we would love nothing more than to give kind of an exclusive offer for listeners of this podcast too.
Awesome. This is new to me. So guys, I don't know what the details are. Do you know what you want to do, or am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, okay. We do. Without getting too much into specifics, we're happy to put a landing page together so that we can include a unique link wherever this podcast is posted. That way, people that are interested in trying out our service can use that link. Or if you do reach out to us, mention the podcast, mention this conversation, we're happy to honor it. We're offering 30 days free for any practice that wants to try this out. And that's literally a no commitment 30 days. We think it only takes 30 days to start seeing the value of Swell. And if for whatever reason you're not happy, within that time period, or you're not seeing enough value, then there's, no hard feelings. We can part our separate ways. But that at least gets us in the door, gives you an opportunity to try us out and let us prove the value. And then, for listeners, we're offering up to a 20% discount off of any of our pricing packages. So we do offer both monthly billing agreements or annual billing agreements as well. So we do offer some flexibility there. So you don't have to be locked in a long-term agreement if you're not comfortable with that. We know that flexibility is key for these dental offices. There's a lot of services that they're using and they need the flexibility of scaling up or scaling down that spend. So we're flexible that way. We're also super transparent about pricing. So if you go to our website, there's not a lot of software companies in the dental space that will advertise their pricing on their website and there's strategy behind that. It's because they're trying to evaluate what your budget is and take advantage. We take a different approach. We say, hey, we're a flat rate per location, per month, billed monthly or billed annually. If you have more than one location, we scale down our price. So take a look at our website, you'll see our list price, and then we're offering up to 20% off of that for listeners of the podcast too.
Fantastic, guys. That's really generous. Thank you. Shoot me an email with a link whenever you guys have that page built, and I'll be glad to stick it in the link under this podcast. And I'll also post this onto the Business of Dentistry, and hopefully you can have 22,000 dentists see it. And I'll be honest, they don't all love the sound of my voice. So however many are interested after putting up with listening to me, I'm sure they'll go ahead and they'll reach out. That's a great way for people to try you out and try you on, so to speak, without any obligation. I love it.
We're also open to just fielding questions and concerns too. If someone wants to reach out to myself, I'm on Facebook. I'm available. You can reach out to me personally via email. Danny is the same. We're always available. If you just have questions about the services that you're currently using, questions about what services are available or what are out there, if you just want some high level advice, whether we're a good fit or not, we're more than willing to help. So
fantastic, guys. Danny, do you want to get the last word in here?
Sure. Yeah. Just I'll echo what Drew said in terms of accessibility. We certainly want to help patients gain access conveniently through practices or to communicate with practices. And the same goes for us. We make it easy for patients to do business with dentists. And we also at Swell, we like to make it easy for practices to do business with us. I'm accessible. If you want to talk about the 10 years of the patient communication dogfight that I spent, and I know the systems that you're using, I know who you're shopping for, I know who's trying to get your business, I am more than happy to help educate and help people understand the software landscape and the tools available to them, regardless of if it is an account for Swell at the time, or if they simply want to just be placed with the right people who will take good care of them.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. And I hope you guys go and get a couple of rounds of golf in. Now, if I'm ever out, whoever you guys need to hurt the worst, you put me on their team, because I have literally played golf once in my life and it was not a pretty thing.
Hey, we're going to take you up on that.
Yeah, I would love to see this.
Well, folks, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Dear Doc podcast and wasting yet another hour of your life listening to the melodious tones of my voice. I hope that you've gotten something out of this, and I hope that it benefits you. Have a fantastic day. This is Doc signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.